Welcome back to the Mystic Mirror Muse podcast. I'm your host, Juliana Higgins. I'm a spiritual life coach specializing in self-love and life purpose. In case you missed the first video, I talked about my story, about me, and in today's episode, I'll be sharing what Mystic Mirror Muse means and the story of how it came to be. Check out the caption below for more details on what else I'll be covering in this mini-series. So what is Mystic Mirror Muse? Why all three? It sounds like a lot of different M words all put together, and why does it matter? Well, let me break it down. Mystic is a person who receives spiritual insight through intuition and connection to the divine. Jesus was a mystic. And people do talk about like religion and spirituality in terms of mysticism because it's something you don't see, but there is a connection to the divine, whatever your word for that is. Mirror is both used as like a person, a reflective person, or a surface object, like a typical mirror that you're probably familiar with. And then muse is a source of inspiration, or it's to think about something deeply. You know, you think about in the classical sense, the artist has a muse, the thing that inspires them, usually a woman, but it could be anything in this case. And that's what those three words mean. But how did it come to be? And why is this the name of my brand? Well, when I first had this idea to start a business, it was actually to have a candle business. And spoiler alert, there are candles in this business. But when I started, I knew I wanted to make candles, but I didn't have a name for a couple years when I was testing and figuring out how I wanted this candle collection to come to life. For the past couple years, it was just Candle Co. That was what I referred to, my little hobby of just candle making and testing. I just didn't know what it would end up being, and I didn't want to just pick a random name. So fast forward to 2 years, and I had been going through my own coaching experience. If you missed my first episode, I talked all about my story and what brought me to coaching and how I got there and like why, well, I didn't get into that yet, but why I love coaching is coming up next. So I was in the process of my own coaching experience when I finally had some major breakthroughs, and I had been feeling just more connected to myself than ever, really leaning into intuition. And I remember it was a few days leading up to the Lionsgate portal back in August 2022. And for those of you that don't know yet, you will be filled in on all this astrology stuff because I love astrology. The Lionsgate portal is 8/8, so you have the double numbers. It was also around the time of the full moon in Leo, Lionsgate. So it was a really powerful celestial time for me, especially because I was tuned into it, because I was following my intuition more. I had been removing all these blocks and fears through coaching. I was just so in tune. Something about it just all lined up for me. And the more I was opening to it, the more I was clearing out my blocks, the fears that were holding me back. I was journaling, I was meditating, I was receiving more and more and more intuition. So Lionsgate happens. Actually, I think this is the outfit I was wearing. I love this dress. Pink is my color now. I used to wear black when I lived in New York because, classic New Yorker, hating the world. But when I moved down to Florida, just being in the sunshine has really changed my perspective and how I want to present myself. Anyway, so I was wearing this dress and I was just having the best day ever. I'm telling my husband about all the transits and things like that, and Lionsgate, full moon in Leo. It was really something for me because Leo is in my south node, so where I've been in previous lifetimes. So it felt really good. It just felt like I was really in my element because the energy of Leo is where I was in my past life. But now in this current life, being having an Aquarius North Node, it's the opposite of that. So where the Leo is very like energetic and out there and is really about themselves, but like has a lot of energy for themselves, the Aquarius is all about groups and being unique and spontaneous and just different, very different. But anyway, so was talking about all this and full moon was coming and more inspiration, right? And I'm talking about how I got to Mystic Mirror Muse. So up until this point, I, was still didn't have a name for this business. I hadn't quite admitted to myself yet that I wanted to be a coach because I was still working full time as a fashion designer. It had been very much part of my identity for the past 10 years. I go into that in previous episodes, so you can definitely go back and listen to that if you haven't yet already. But yeah, I was just still in fashion. I was like, oh, there's a lot of things that come up when you're changing your identity. But that day I decided that no, like I am going to be a life coach. I am going to do this. It's going to be better for me. I'm going to just lean into what my intuition is telling me. So I journal that night about some really powerful mindset shifts and really came to terms with taking more responsibility in my life for the way my reality was being perceived by me. And I think having those breakthroughs, deep breakthroughs, having the excitement and the commitment to following my intuition, I went to bed that night. And as I was falling asleep, I was thinking, okay, I really, for a while, it was just like mirror muse, mirror muse, mirror muse, mirror muse. And I'm like, no, like a lot of people have that. It's not that different. And then I'm like, but what is it about? Why mirror muse? Okay, so why mirror muse? So when I first started this self-development, self-growth, transformation journey, a concept that was introduced to me actually by Natalia Benson was this idea of mirror work. And the mirror work idea is that you spend time looking in the mirror, saying positive affirmations. And this, I think, was first coined by Louise Hayes. So Louise is the pioneer of this concept. She really brought it to life. But then through Natalia is where I was introduced to it, really. And so it's about telling yourself positive affirmations in the mirror and really using the mirror as a tool to access more self-love, more self-compassion, getting more in tune with yourself. So this was a big thing for me, especially because I, for the longest time, could not look at myself in the mirror. That probably shocks a lot of people, but like I am being so honest with you when it's like I tell you that I could not look at myself in the mirror for the longest time. It was very painful. So that was very difficult in the beginning. Honestly, very difficult. Maybe that's a story for another day. Nah. When I first started, I would look in the mirror and I would just start to shake, start to hyperventilate, not be able to really look at myself, see myself, and be scared of what I was seeing. And the more I kept up with it, the more I leaned into the discomfort, the more I held my gaze. Finally, there was like a moment where I broke through that barrier of just looking at the surface, and I could see beyond the surface. I could see into my soul, and it was one of the most powerful moments of my life. So from that moment, I knew that, maybe I didn't know, but like I had the feeling that this idea of the mirrors would be very important to me. And actually, when I was taking one of Natalia's classes, and gosh, I think it was like back in the summer of 2021, she led us through this meditation where I don't remember because it was a while ago, but basically talking to your higher self and asking our higher selves like what we needed to go forward, like what tools. And in that meditation, my higher self came to me and said, here, this is a mirror. This is your tool. And I, at the time, again, I had no idea how that would happen, how that would all synthesize. I was just like, okay, the mirror. So fast forward 2 years later, I'm laying in bed thinking about mirror, muse, and then mirror, muse, mirror, whatever. I'm like, there's another aspect of it, you know? It's like, okay, so the idea of the mirror muse is using the mirror to like muse, to think about deeply, to be inspired by what you see in the mirror. And then I still knew that there was this other piece missing. And that's when my intuition said mystic mirror muse, mystic, like mystic mirror muse. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, that is it. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm freaking out. It's, whatever, 11 o'clock and I'm supposed to be sleeping, but I'm just like full body electricity running through every fiber of my being saying, holy yes, that's the name, Mystic Mirror Muse. And I'm like, I'm so excited that I'm just like, oh, I want to tell everybody, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sleep on it. Maybe this is crazy. Like, okay. Anyway, I wake up the next morning and I'm like, Mystic Mirror Muse, so inspired by this. And I rush to my computer. I make a quick like graphic. I have this vision of the M's just like making a wave. I don't know why, but just the M's make a wave, Mystic Mirror Muse. And I come up with this logo. I send it to my best friend and she's like, yes, oh my gosh, yes, I love it. That's amazing. Like, wow, I love it, right? And then I send it to somebody else and they're like, Mystic Mirror Muse, like, like, what's with the alliteration? It's like, that's just what it is. It's like, it's Mystic Mirror Muse. What's there not to understand? And in that moment, I was not deterred by their opinion because in the past, I have been a people pleaser. So I'm used to be very comfortable with taking other people's opinions to heart, but that did not stop me. And I just ran with it. And for a while, I didn't tell too many other people about it, but I'm telling you this because it was this momentum of me following my intuition, listening to that inner voice and just doing it anyway, even if nobody really understood what it meant, or if some people understood, some people didn't. At that point, I was just like, well, the people that get it will get it, and the people that don't are not for me anyway. So that is how Mystic Mirror Muse was born. So, okay, Mystic Mirror Muse, it's spiritual, it's reflective, it's thought-provoking, it's inspirational, it's dreamy, it's something that doesn't exist in this world yet. And I hope that it inspires you to think about what calls you, like where are your inspirations telling you to look, like what brings you joy. My mission with Mystic Mirror Muse is to empower you to reflect, connect to, and inspire your higher self. I want this to be a space for you to be inspired, perhaps show you a different way of being, show you a different way of connecting with yourself. So I really look forward to telling you more about this journey. And in the next video, I'll be talking all about coaching, what it is and what it isn't. So you definitely don't want to miss that one.